what's up? It's Rob Rusher from 522 Productions, and I'm here to talk to you about the camera test we did between the Red Scarlet, Blackmagic Cinema camera, and the all-new Sony F5. Now, we have some exciting things happening at 522, including projects that could really benefit from a high dynamic range camera. These three were at the top of our list, and we were lucky enough that DC Camera had them and allowed us to come to their warehouse and put them in situations that we would actually be shooting in. Now, as someone that works anything from an AC to a DP position on set, the first thing I was curious about is how easy is it to pick this camera up, go outside, shoot some scenes, and move on? Or is it a camera that needs to be really set up? Do I need a lot of rigging and accessories? On top of that, I like to find out how difficult is the menu. Can I easily go in there while going from inside to outside, change my white balance, shutter, iris, ISO? Or do I have to go through this whole menu system to do simple changes?
Knowing that we get into these less than ideal situations out in the field, and we want to see which camera handles the less than ideal situations the best way. Okay.
We're like, okay, can we travel, fly with this camera, and will it be amazing at interviews? Can you throw it on your shoulder and run outside and shoot city stuff? Can you take it with a tripod while they're shooting other stuff by yourself, one-man band, and shoot on your own?
You know, the external drive or
SSD drive.
Right, goes back, and then the Anton Bauer gets back further. So then once you have the right handle, you have it up here like this, right? So I'll substitute this for the handle, so I can see clearly what I'm doing.
Obviously, post-production is a big part of this, but I'm going to allow our colorist Anthony to talk to you through that as he goes through the footage, colors it, and determines the best workflow for these cameras. I will tell you, however, though, we've already run into some pretty big problems. But again, that's why you test them. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and I'm going to go over my first impressions for all these cameras. So real quick, before we jump too far into this camera testing, I want to make a point that the Sony F5 will not work with Premiere CS6. There's no plugin for it. The only available plugin is a third-party software that charges about $550, maybe more, to be able to read the F5 footage in Premiere. If you try, you'll double-click, it'll say serious error has occurred, and it will shut down Premiere. And even though Sony is releasing their content browser for free, that does nothing for us Premiere users. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into the first impressions that I had for these cameras. Right away, the F5 was definitely my favorite. I might be a little biased because I've done so much work with the F3. So the menu system was very easy to adapt. It was even better, more like an Alexa. I just loved all the buttons there. It was more of a full functioning camera. You had your XLRs, and it just easily could switch between menus and options and settings, which I really like. The Blackmagic camera kind of fell in the middle, where it took some more time to break into. The touchscreen menu I'm still not really a fan of. Didn't like how there's not XLR input, and the fact that you have to attach an extra battery because the internal battery only runs for an hour and then you have to charge it. It's kind of a bummer.
But have you ever heard of a camera that you cannot take a battery out and put a new one in? So that if you had 100 batteries, you could go forever.
Unfortunately, the Red kind of fell at the bottom for the initial thoughts and ease of use. There was so many buttons that you push one and you're not sure which one you hit, and then you're shooting in black and white, you're shooting in DigiZoom.
The Red is an owner-operator camera. It's got 17 user settable buttons. So if you own it, you can set them, and every time you use it, you know what button 12 is, you know what button 2 is, and they're there for you, and it's all good. If you go to a rental house, they're set to whatever the last guy set them at.
The first setup that we did was just a basic interview with a backdrop. Now, we do a lot of interviews, a lot of talking heads, sometimes backdrops, sometimes in front of something. So we had a backdrop set up. We did just the natural fluorescence that were in there. Then we tested with one Kino. There's a lot of situations where it's only a 2 or 3 man crew, especially documentary style. You can only fit one light in. You only have the manpower to get one light in there.
if it's like, hey, we got a small job, it's a 2-man crew. What's the easiest?
Yeah,
when it boils down to the guy who's in the heat of the battle, which it's most of the time you. Like they're like,
Yeah.
go up to Baltimore and give me a couple shots of blah blah. You just want to have that user friendliness available.
And I mean the red is actually, this and the red are similar in weight actually, even with this big lens. And the next test we did is we put somebody in front of a shelving unit that's not that beautiful to look at, brown boxes, whatever. But we do a lot of shoots where the products are in a warehouse and we have to show, the B-roll of this, or even have someone in front of the box. And you'll notice that there's a similar color between his skin and the brown box. So the challenge for Anthony is to make himself pop and separate him from the background. After that, we did our typical, someone sitting at a desk, or even someone standing in front of a desk. And the reason we do this is we do a lot of office B-roll. And there's, the CEOs and upper management, they will have a window next to their desk. And a lot of times that's hard to shoot that with such a blasting window. And I will say that all 3 cameras did an amazing job of being able to have the information outside the window. So that's something that the DSLRs don't do. So that was pretty awesome. We were all very impressed with that. And again, all 3 cameras did really well. The final test we did is to shoot a few things outside, just have Chad walking around. We had people in the background. We had brick buildings in the background. For doc stuff, sometimes we just have to plop someone outside, get some words from them, get a sound clip. And unfortunately, a lot of times with the DSLRs, that the footage doesn't look good enough to use. But with these cameras, you were able to get the skin tone exposed for that, but yet the sky wasn't blown out. You can still see the clouds, you can still see the blue, and it makes it just a much more appealing footage, much more usable. So I really enjoyed that part from that test. I think that's where we really put the cameras to the test to see how much data can they really capture. Well, I hope you guys learned a little something and enjoyed the camera test we did. We certainly learned a lot. As you can see, the clear winner for us from just being on set with it was the Sony F5. However, I will tell you that when bringing everything in post-production, the Blackmagic Cinema camera was the most impressive. But again, Anthony will take care of that, go through all the workflow and post-production and coloring capabilities for each camera. Be sure to check out our website, 522productions.com, for more on this, and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks.